What's up guys, Justin with AmericanMuscle.com here with a quick overview of the Airaid Cold Air Dam Intake System available for the 2011 through 2014 EcoBoost powered F150s featuring the SynthaFlowÂ oiled filter. Alright guys, you should know the deal by now. We're going to cover what you can expect as far as benefits when checking out the Airaid, what you're going to be looking at as far as components and construction, and then finally what it takes to get this thing installed onto your F150. And honestly here guys, not a whole lot. 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and I will have a little bit more detail coming up later on. Alright guys, you should be checking out the Airaid Cold Air that I have in this video if you're after a quality intake from a known brand like Airaid, one that will be 50 state legal and Carb Certified, and finally one that's going to give you some pretty solid benefits without the need for a tune or without having to relocate your coolant reservoir like some other options on the site. Now, Airaid is definitely one of the most popular cold air options on the site, both for the Mustang and for the F150. And if you guys ever really handled one of these things, it's pretty easy to see why, right? I mean, great materials, awesome build, and as a result, they're gonna fit really well into your F150, and they're gonna perform pretty well in the process. And guys, this has just been my experience over the years dealing with Airaid as a brand. Alright guys, again, this is Airaid's Air Dam Complete Intake System, not to be confused with the Quick Fit Air Dam System, also from Airaid, which really is just the air box and the SynthaFlowÂ filter. Again, the Air Dam Intake System, which we have here, is the complete deal from soup to nuts. As you can see, you're getting everything, right? You're getting the intake tube, the air box, the SynthaFlowÂ filter, and as such, it is gonna drive the price up a little bit more. We will fully break down the price later on compared to some of the other options here on the site. The Airaid here is a no tune required intake, guys, and that is pretty much going to be the case anytime you're checking out any of the aftermarket cold airs for your EcoBoost F150 because they run off of what is called speed density and not a mass airflow sensor. Now, the mass airflow sensor, anytime you change the diameter of the housing, i.e. upgrade to a bigger intake, you need to account for that in your tune, otherwise the car or the truck or whatever is just going to run like crap. Not the case again here with the speed density stuff. You can basically change out your intake. The computer will make the necessary changes on the fly using a complex formula, meaning you guys can bolt up a new intake and go without the need for anything else. Ultimately guys, these speed density aftermarket cold airs won't make as much as those tune required cold airs, but you can still expect a little power gain here or there, of course. Now if you really want to uncork the power of your 3.5 liter turbo EcoBoost power plant, guys, an aftermarket or custom tune is just where you need to be. In fact, cruise on over to the tune pages, check out the numbers, we break down all the dyno pools, and I think you'll be impressed with what a tune only can do to these turbocharged trucks. Now, I've already mentioned it once, guys, but I do want to point out again, a big thing about these cold airs here from Airaid is that they are 50 state legal and they are Carb Certified. So even truck owners out in tough states like California, for instance, can throw this thing on, catch some of the benefits of adding an aftermarket cold air without catching any flack from some of the small grefs. As you can see guys, the Air Dam Intake System does feature an exposed filter here, which is going to be a little different from your factory sealed air box. Now, leaving the filter exposed like this is going to give you a little bit more noise under the hood, maybe some more engine noise, definitely a little bit more turbo noise as well. You might hear that blow off valve a little bit more often now. Some of you guys might think that's pretty cool, others might not. Now, if you prefer a more quiet experience, I would recommend sticking with more of a sealed air box. There are a few available in the aftermarket, and we do carry a few here at AM. All right guys, with some of the big benefits covered here with the Airaid, let's break down some of the construction and some of the components, starting with the filter. This particular intake from Airaid does feature the SynthaFlowÂ oiled filter, by far and away probably one of the most popular filters in the Airaid arsenal, and it is washable, it is reusable, and it is an oiled filter. Now this does feature a synthetic nano-fiber material here. It is oiled and it can capture particles down to 2 microns in size, gonna produce a whole lot of protection for your EcoBoost motor. Now keep in mind though guys, this thing is washable, it is reusable, it's gonna save you some dough, but you will need to re-oil this thing after you clean it as per Airaid's recommendation. Now with all that said guys, some of you EcoBoost owners out there might prefer to use a dry filter, and if that's the case and you really do like what this intake is looking like here, you can pick up pretty much the exact same thing, but with the Synthamax dry filter in place of the SynthaFlowÂ oiled filter. It's gonna cost you a few bucks more, nothing crazy, but it is available here on the site if that's something you're interested in. Filter aside, guys, you are going to be looking at some familiar stuff here from Airaid, mainly their rotomolded plastic intake tube, which does tap into your factory turbo piping. Really nice 4-ply couplers here, nice clamps, and of course the Air Dam airbox sheet metal in design actually taps into the lower portion of your factory airbox, which is really cool. I like that because it's still gonna be able to utilize that factory cold air ducting from the front of your truck. They're also throwing in the weather stripping here, of course, which will seal to the hood, help lock out any of that hot engine bay air. In addition to that, guys, just the usual stuff, nuts, bolts, clamps, everything you need to get this thing installed. Now, on the topic of price again, guys, the Airaid is a more premium option, and as such, you're gonna be paying a little bit more for this particular intake. Expect a high $300 price point, which does make it one of the most costly options on the site. Switching gears, let's talk about the install here. We'll do a quick graze over it, and again, really nothing too crazy, guys. If you've never done any work on your truck, you'll be happy to know that a cold air intake install is by far and away one of the easiest things you'll ever tackle. So 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, maybe 30 minutes to an hour depending on your level of expertise. Now, you won't even really have to dive too deep into the toolbox for this one, guys. Honestly, a few screwdrivers, maybe a flathead or an 8mm socket is really all you need to work with these clamps here. But other than that, you're simply just removing the top portion of your factory air box. The Airaid air dam itself here is actually gonna slide into the lower portion of the factory air box, and everything else just pretty much connects using the supplied clamps. So again, very simple, very straightforward install here. If you've never done any wrenching, you'll be happy to know you can tackle this one with ease. All right, guys, wrapping this one up here. The quality and fitment of Airaid in general continue to make it one of my favorites in the category, and the air dam complete system here for your EcoBoost is no different. You're gonna be looking at a small bump in power, a nice improvement in sound and looks under the hood, and the best part is it fits like a glove. So that's my review of the Airaid Air Dam Complete Intake System, which you can find right here at AmericanMuscle.com.